don't know for sure, but I bet this title made my teacher very worried. Here's what the cover looks like. Look, I'm so cute. As you can see here, I'm getting beaten up by my brother. Here, I'm being yelled at to wake up. And here, I'm looking out the window at kids having fun on their scooters, while I have a list of chores to do right here. And if anyone's wondering, I had a great childhood. I mean, I wasn't abused or anything. My parents' marriage was stable. I guess I just really hated the chores my mom made me do. But anyway, time to get into the juicy stuff. Here's the story. I Do Not Like This Family by James Rowson. At school. Okay, class, time for recess, the teacher announced. Side note, the teacher banned the class from using the word said in any of our writing. So that's why there's a lot of awkward exclamations. James, TJ exclaimed. Where is Wesley? TJ and Wesley are real people that were actually my friends in 4th grade. Wesley moved to a different school, so we lost touch, but me and TJ are still friends. He is not here. Life is different without Wesley, replied James. Wesley, if you are watching this, I am so sorry. Is that Wesley over there? Boy, is he late, TJ replied. I don't know why I made all my friends talk like robots, but Wesley responds, Hi guys, I had a dentist appointment. That is why I am so late. James, did you get my invitation? Yeah, James answered. Can you come? Wesley asked. No, James answered. Why not? Wesley asked. A reporter is coming in, so we have to clean up the house. And my mom is going to be on TV at 12 o'clock midnight, James replied. I love how I never say why my mom will be on TV, but if she's not letting me go to a friend's birthday party so I can clean the house, she's probably doing something illegal. Who would want to stay awake for that long? Just for that, TJ exclaimed. And then my dear friend Wesley suggests, you could run away. Like, I don't even run away to the birthday party. I just run away in the middle of the night. I think I will, James smiled. 11 a.m., time to go. I meant p.m. But if I go out the door, the alarm will go. The escape ladder, James thought. James went down the ladder and hid behind a bush. End of page 1. I'm going to skip ahead a bit because it's more of me talking to myself, but basically I get hungry, I want to eat some berries that's 5 miles away, I find a $1 bill and decide to take the bus there. 1 hour later. Where is that bus? James exclaimed. Finally, the bus is here, James replied with relief. I didn't reply to anything. Sorry, kid, your parents aren't around, the bus driver replied, refusing to let him ride. The bus driver didn't reply to anything either. I'm 11 years old, James exclaimed. I was actually 9 when I wrote this. Apparently being 11 meant you were all big and tough and could ride buses by yourselves. I really looked up to 11-year-olds. So I go home, sleep, and in the morning I hear my dad say, It's too bad your interview on the news was canceled, Dad replied sadly. I obviously don't know what the word replied means. So I get excited that my mom's interview was canceled and I can go to Wesley's birthday party. But then I scream, ow, in pain for some reason. And I'm in pain, and I say, I am going to be on my bed. So I'm on my bed, I rip up the dollar bill I found outside because I think it's unlucky. I also would like to point out that I used a semicolon in the right place. So I call my dad, who in this story is a doctor, and he says, Okay, son, does this hurt? Yeah, James answered. Oh no, Dad exclaimed. So somehow my dad is able to successfully diagnose me by only asking if something hurts. Now, I don't know how real doctors diagnose people, but I'm pretty sure it's not like that. What is 9 I's, Z, 8 S's, and then a space, and then 3 Z's. And then I write, James said as he fell asleep. What happens next is such a big plot twist I bet none of you saw coming. As I'm laying on my bed unconscious, my dad says, kidney failure. And then it's followed by 4 frowny face emoticons in parentheses. I can't believe that my 9-year-old mind somehow knew what kidney failure was. Where did I learn this? Later at the hospital, he had an operation. He lost both of his kidneys, the nurse exclaimed. I'll donate a kidney, James's brother exclaimed. We're almost done, guys. And then I think to myself, kidney, kidney, kidney. Those words just repeated and repeated in his mind. James could not believe his ears. His brother, in parentheses, the one who beat him up, close parentheses, liked him. Okay, so this story just turned somewhat heartwarming. I wonder what I'll say next. After the operation, James and his brother had trouble going to the bathroom. Yeah, how did I know so much about an organ that helped you urinate? Okay, last sentence. James found out how much his family cared for him. I think your family cares for you too. Actually, I remember that line. Yeah, my teacher made me write that in. Starting 9th grade was probably the worst decision I have ever made. I didn't go to a public school. I went to a preparatory school that made us wear uniforms, wake up early, and use lockers. And I went to the school with my twin sister, and we had every single class together. So since we didn't know anyone, we sat next to each other in all our classes. And as the school year went on, we got to know more people and we all became friends. Soon everybody in the 9th grade knew who we were. But one day, it was about the second to last week of school, and we just finished our classes. And we were both 14, so you know, we were still kind of weird. Puberty and stuff. And I say, Faith, you know what would be funny? If you bump into someone, and then say, oh, sorry, let me apologize with my sympathy rub. And then I proceeded to rub my sister's arm, slowly and gently, because that's what a sympathy rub is. I mean, it's not my best work, but I think it's funny. But there was a teacher walking by who didn't think it was that funny. It was a middle school teacher, so we've never seen her before, and she asks us, hey, do you two know the school's policy on PDA? And my sister responds with, yep, and starts to walk away. Oh, I'm not done. The teacher then began to give us a lecture about why we have to keep our feelings for each other outside of school. She said stuff like, I know you're both young and in love, and, but your hormones are all out of whack, and now is not a time to be going steady with someone. So apparently this teacher saw us sit next to each other in classes, walk with each other in the hallway, and eat lunch together, and naturally assumed that we were madly in love. Me and Faith looked at each other, and we were both thinking, do we tell her? You know, we probably should have, but we didn't want to make the teacher feel awkward or anything, so we just kept our mouths shut and nodded. And I remember while this was happening, my friend Anthony walked by, and, knowing we were both brother and sister, was extremely confused why we were being told not to show our feelings for each other in school. And we weren't even making out or anything. We just did everything together, so I don't know what the teacher's problem was. So after the teacher was done talking, I thought it was extremely funny and wanted to tell everyone in the whole school, but Faith was utterly embarrassed and wanted to keep quiet. Down the hall, Anthony was waiting for us and asked if we got called out for PDA. I told him my sympathy rub joke, and Faith made him swear to never tell anyone. And this would probably be the end of the story, but the next day, while our geometry teacher was teaching a different class, the teacher that called us out came in and said, hey, do you know the blonde curly hair girl with a boyfriend that looks just like her? I'm sorry, but just saying that sentence should probably trigger some sort of red flag. My geometry teacher said our names. Faith and James? Yeah, well, I saw them holding hands, which I wasn't, by the way. I was giving her a sympathy rub. But the whole class burst out laughing anyway. So my geometry teacher informed her they're twins. So the teacher ended up feeling awkward anyway. I still thought it was hilarious, and now everyone knew about it. And Faith was glad there was only 2 more weeks of school left. You probably don't know this about me, but I am actually an Eagle Scout. And to be an Eagle Scout, you have to do Scout stuff like go camping. And over the summer, my troop would like to travel to a place called Camp Geronimo, where we would live in the wilderness for 7 days. There are about 30 other Scout troops that would come, and there were no cabins at the place. We had to sleep in tents. My first year at camp, my friend TJ and I just met the minimum age requirement to go. Yes, it was the same TJ from the first video. And being the good friends that we are, we decided to share a tent for the whole week. It's not weird. We were in the wilderness. We shared for survival. But we quickly learned that we weren't protecting ourselves from bears or anything. We were protecting ourselves from the older kids. You see, there is a perfect linear function based on your age versus how cool you were. And TJ and I were obviously not cool. So about 3 days into camp, someone thought it would be funny to take a can of Axe deodorant spray, tie down the button thing that sprays the Axe, throw it in our tent, and then zip the tent flap shut. This horrendous act is actually a very common prank among Boy Scouts called axe bombing. Eventually, I had to go get something from the tent, so I opened the flap thing and I was just hit with this wall of awful smells. You think boys like the smell of Axe? Nah, that stuff's freaking gross. I'd never experienced the heinous act of Axe bombing in my whole life until then. But this wasn't how I wanted it to happen. I immediately got mad, like super pissed. I went up to TJ, grabbed him by the shoulder, looked directly into his perfect face and said, "TJ, someone just axe-bombed our tent." And TJ just shrugged and went, "You know what? Whatever. There's no reason to get mad. It won't help us." And TJ's response to this has actually stuck with me. I think about what he said whenever I'm stressed out about homework, or if my computer crashes and I lose all my files. It really helps calm me down. But as a 12-year-old, I said, "Psh, okay, TJ, you do you. I'm gonna go get revenge." But I had no idea who actually axe-bombed our tent, and whoever did is still a mystery to this day. But I decided to blame the 15-year-olds with their stupid, guilty faces. I even asked them just to be sure. "Hey, did you axe-bomb my tent?" "No." "Okay, I knew it was them." And the 15-year-olds were pretty cool, but not the coolest. There still were the oh-so-famous 16-year-olds. So to help prove that they were still cool, they built a mega tent out of logs. And tent is probably an understatement for that thing. They had logs tied around trees, 5 walls, a back and a front door. It even had a log roof that some boys could stand on. And all the 15-year-olds slept under it every night. And I came up with a perfect plan to get my revenge. Sorry, I have to turn this into a 2-part thing. So anyway, thanks for watching. You can see 2 of my other videos that I've made, or a whole bunch of funny comics at my website. I mean, I'm not just going to ask you to like, favorite, subscribe, and comment, but if you do want to do that, you could. So me and TJ had to sleep a whole night in the axe-smelling tent. Every breath I could taste the smell, and I just got more and more angry. The night finally passed, and I woke up early in the morning before everyone else, so I could start with my master revenge plan. Was I tired? Maybe, but that's a sacrifice you have to make for vengeance. Every campsite had a water fountain coming out of the ground, connected to a PVC pipe. I found the biggest Ziploc freezer bag I could find and started to fill it up with water. It was obviously a slow process. I had plenty of time to reconsider, to think about what TJ said or what would happen after I got my revenge. But nothing stopped me. I was a squeaky-voiced, hormone-induced monster. Once the bag was full, I went back to my tent and woke TJ up. He got up and I told him to watch this. TJ actually had no part in the revenge plan. I just wanted to suck him down with me. I think TJ actually didn't want to get revenge. I ran towards the mega log tent and hid behind a real tent that was right next to the log one. Everyone was still inside. TJ still had no clue what I was doing. Until I chucked the bag over the real tent. If everything went according to plan, the bag would break on the roof and the water would sink through the openings, and then they'd be super wet, LOL. That was the plan. I never saw the carnage my creation had done. I was worried that I'd completely missed the log tent. I never played any sports as a kid, so just making it over the first tent would have been an accomplishment. But the fact that everyone started screaming and one boy yelled, "Micah, I'm gonna kill you!" I knew it must have been the most perfect shot. Did I stay around and laugh at their stupid, guilty faces? No. Me and TJ ran away as fast as we possibly could, without looking back. We sprinted off into the woods before any 15-year-old saw us. We just kept running and running, making sure to get as far away from camp as possible. And on the way, I kinda threw up a little. TJ, being the good friend that he was, thought I was unfit to run, so he decided that we should hide in some bushes. After about 5 minutes, nobody came. "Should we head back to camp?" "No." "Yeah, you're right." So we kept running, until we found the lake where scouts could canoe in. Me and TJ both thought this was a good place to stop, so we sat by the lake and talked for a few hours. Because in a week, TJ and his family were going to move away to China for 2 years, and I knew I wouldn't see him again for a long time. So I wanted to spend every moment I had with him. We were just a couple of bros being real with each other, skipping rocks and talking about our feelings. And then that night, the 15-year-old's tent got axe-bombed. So I guess it wasn't them. Oh, and remember how I threw up after running so much? Well, apparently there was a sickness going around camp that all the camp instructors got, and about 50% of the scouts got it too. And lo and behold, one of the 15-year-olds wasn't feeling so well when he went to bed that night. And then the sudden jolt awake and the cold water made him throw up. Yay! There comes a time in everyone's life when you just do something crazy and stupid for no reason. But it's not a new concept. People have been doing crazy things for centuries. And if they had Twitter back then, these would definitely be some of the YOLO swag moments. Number 1. Thutmose III. He was an Egyptian pharaoh that was only 17 years old when he got the job. He was leading his army to capture a city called Megiddo. It was his first time leading a march, and he had to look out for Canaanite soldiers who wanted to kill him and wipe out his army. He came across a mountain range, and knew Canaanite soldiers were on the other side. He had 3 possible routes to take. Thutmose could lead his army around either sides of the mountains, or lead them down a narrow path going through the middle. His advisors said the best way to go was around the mountains, because if the Canaanite soldiers attacked, they could stretch their army out and flank the enemy. But if they went through a narrow pass, Canaanite soldiers could wait right here and kill Thutmose' army one by one. But Thutmose, being the cocky, rebellious punk that he was, looked his advisors straight in the eye and said, "YOLO, probably." And he would have tweeted about it too. Despite having no good reason to go through the mountains, he did. And the story could have ended there with 10,000 Egyptian deaths. But the Canaanites on the other side of the mountain thought no one would be stupid enough to go through the mountain pass, so they positioned their army here and here. When Thutmose got to the other side, he saw an extreme lack of Canaanite soldiers there. He marched his army back around, surprising the Canaanite soldiers and winning the battle. Number 2, Onfim. Onfim was a 7-year-old boy who lived in Novgorod, Russia in the 1200s. He went to school and did his homework scratched in soft birch bark. He probably really hated school because in this example of homework we found, we see the first 11 letters of the alphabet here, and then a picture of a warrior who's probably killing the teacher, which is labeled Onfim. In this piece, we have homework on one side, and on the other side is a picture of what looks like to be a wild beast, and the writings, "I am a wild beast." And he's holding a sign that reads, "Greetings from Onfim to Danilo." Now he's writing notes to his friend? This guy was the oldest example of someone who wasn't paying attention in school. There's also a picture of his mom and his dad, Onfim and his dad, who apparently was a warrior, some battle scenes with a really long horse, and some more random doodles. I mean, the doodles I made when I was 7 were a little better. Can you imagine 800 years from now, future archaeologists digging up doodles you made in 1st grade? I wonder if his teacher saw these. He turned them in, right? This just proves that teachers have been dealing with obnoxious students for centuries. I'm surprised the scientists didn't find this work on an ancient refrigerator. Number 3, Michelangelo. Michelangelo is, by definition, a swag master. He didn't give a flying buttress what people said about his art. He didn't care if you were the Pope. In fact, he hated the Pope. So when the Pope commissioned him to paint the Sistine Chapel, he straight up said, no. But he really needed the dough, so he reluctantly did it. In an act of pure swag, he left a couple of hidden Easter eggs inside. In one painting, we have God creating the sun and moon. Get it? The sun and moon? Classic. People prayed under this for hundreds of years. There's also a debate in this iconic part of God giving life to Adam. You see, some people see an outline of a human brain right here. Now, people don't know if Mikey put it in there intentionally, or what he meant by it if he did. Some people say that he meant that God is giving Adam intelligence, and others say that God was thought up by man. Something else, when the papal minister of ceremonies, Iago de Sensina, I don't know. Anyway, he came in while Michelangelo was painting and complained about all the nudity. Michael said he wasn't going to change it, and the minister left begrudgingly. So to get back at him, Michael painted the man in hell. And just to add insult to injury, he painted a snake biting off his David parts. The Pope wanted Michelangelo to change it, but he was so done with Michael's swagger that he decided to leave it. Number 4, Annie Taylor. Annie Taylor was taking a boat tour to see Niagara Falls when the thought came to her, I want to slide down that. She was going through a bit of economic trouble at the time and thought that going down the falls in a barrel would make her famous. She had a special barrel made and padded it with a mattress. She tested it by putting a cat in the barrel and sending it over the falls, which luckily survived with minor injury. 2 days later, Annie went over and also survived. However, she earned some money, but not a lot. She spent the rest of her life posing for photographs with tourists, just trying to earn enough money until she died in 1921. But you are more thankful that the cat lived, aren't you? Number 5, Patu. In the 1770s, a racehorse named Potatoes was resting in a stable when a stable worker asked the owner what the horse's name was. He needed to know what to write on a feeding bucket. The owner said the horse's name, but the worker misheard him, thinking he said Pot 8 O's. And thus the name Patu was born. And the worker would have been a great employee at Starbucks, seeing that he misspells people's names wrong. But the story doesn't end there. The owner thought the name was funny and was full of swag, and decided to change the name to Patu. However, they still pronounced it potatoes, but they wrote it Pot 8 O's. I guess the horse must have been Irish. Before I begin, I'd like to say that this video is extremely embarrassing for me. I'm going to tell you some things that some of my closest friends don't know about me. So if you know me in real life, or if you're like my future boss or grandchild watching this, then please... Alright. Things that I do that adults probably don't do. I close my closet door before I go to sleep every night. Okay, so this one's not super embarrassing, but why do I do this? I know monsters aren't real. Sometimes I'll already be in my bed, open my eyes just a tiny bit and see the black void of my closet, and then I have to get up and close it. It makes me uncomfortable, I don't know why.